Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hope Report, your light in the darkness, brought to you by the Lindell Recovery Network. I am Jason Perry.
And I'm Melissa Huray. It's Wednesday. I was going to say, Jason, it wouldn't be Monday without some technical
But
difficulties,
it is
but it's
technically
not
Monday
Monday.
for us because there has
Yes.
been holy smokes challenges. I apologize for my camera view. I'm on
It
a
doesn't look
backup
that
camera
bad.
because my high-speed Panasonic GH5 just is not
It,
putting out a signal. I think I fried the HDMI port.
it's very
So,
unlike you to have technical problems. We rarely see it. And today you did an awesome job troubleshooting with Lauren to get another camera up there. And I had Mike help me last night with getting mine back. And maybe sometimes I'll
yeah,
use the other background too, because we kind of like that. But I was excited to get back into OBS Studios, our professional looking software.
well, that's
So
that's
yeah.
awesome. So, obviously, there is no Kevin Sorbo here
We're
yet.
Kevin Sorbo, you guys. I did speak to him at 10:30 Central Time. He said, I'm in the room and no one's there. And then he said, oops, I didn't realize I looked at it wrong. It's 11:30 Central. So he said, see you in a little bit. So we are still hopeful that Kevin will join us. We've been emailing. So I'm hoping he just maybe is doing something important and he'll be back.
Yeah.
That's right, Lauren. I was thinking the same thing. It just means the show is taking traction if the devil needs to keep messing with us. I know he messed with us Friday and he messed with us today, but we're pushing forward.
Well, I'll tell you, as far on the theological front, I have decided to crash into a lot of Michael Heiser's work, the unseen realm, the Nephilim, angels,
Oh,
devils, all that stuff. I'm not really happy with the minimalist, what I'm getting from everyone else. So he specializes in that. So I'm gonna dive into that and see where I stand and all that. Because again, you know me, I am a skeptic at heart. So I'm going to go in and see where I come out on this. I'm open to it, which I'm always open to following the truth. It just needs to be pretty compelling, and we'll see where it's at. I did do his book Supernatural, which Ken Graves recommended that to me, and now I'm doing his thing called the Unseen Realm, and then that all dives into the Book of Enoch and all those other things, which are outside extra biblical texts that
yeah.
I think Catholics included in their Bible. I'm not sure. Their Apocrypha has way more has more books than King James or the Protestant Bible. So it's going to be interesting to see where I come out on that,
Yeah,
because you know me and the supernatural, we're
I
not too
do.
cool.
I do. And I want to say Michael Heiser is connected to Rob Rowe of Sentinel Apologetics. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different Michael. I could be. But I thought that was
He's a
one of
big
his
deal. I
guests.
think Rob cites a lot of his stuff.
Okay, that could be. Yeah,
He's been
it's
doing
good.
this for a very long time. He actually worked for Logos Software, which does a lot of the Bible stuff. He's been on the speaking circuit, on spiritual warfare, on demons and angels and everything else. So he is, I mean, he's definitely an expert on it. And, the Nephilim, I kind of tackled it because I was in Genesis 5-6 this weekend, which there's a lot of stuff to tackle there. The ages is one thing to tackle, and then the Nephilim and who they were
Mhm.
is another one. And then the beginning of the Noah prepper story. So there was a lot of stuff there to kind of unpack. So
Yeah.
again, I spent a fair amount of time researching. And let me tell you, doing service at 7 p.m. was the best thing um, I've done, for the church.
Was that your
It,
first week doing that? I think
yeah,
you switched
doing
to
it at
7
7
p.m.
p.m. was so much better for our family. We got to have, instead of having a rushed, all business Sunday morning, we got to have a great Sunday. And then at 7 p.m. we did service and then went from there.
That's
And
great.
and
That's great.
Sentinel Apologetics is here
We are
saying
just
greetings.
talking about you, Rob. I was going to ask you if Michael Heiser was one of your familiar guests, but I could be confusing it with a different Michael that you have on. But glad you are
Um,
here with us
yeah.
today. Hopefully, Kevin Sorbo will join us later. if all
So
goes as
I actually
planned.
I have another connection to Kevin is the guy who does all my camera work for Trident Shield did his camera work for some of his projects. So, he's a very unmistakable guy. He's got the most remarkable beard you've ever seen. So I'm sure Kevin would remember him. He said this.
Yeah.
He said he's one of the kindest, nicest guys.
Well, I was doing my Kevin Sorbo research this morning. I'm sure it didn't go to waste whether or not he makes it here, but I watched the movie What If, which is on PureFlix, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was surprisingly heartfelt, and I thought that his acting
It looked
was.
more of a comedy when I saw the preview.
It reminded me, there was a Nick Cage movie kind of like it, where he woke up and he had this family life. He was this, rich, successful businessman who
Yeah.
had passed up the opportunity to marry his love, and he chose the route of, Wall Street. So
Right.
it was in that vein of It's a Wonderful Life type vein. But there were some twists in there, and John Ratzenberger plays the angel, of course. I think he plays angel in a few Christian
Sure.
flicks, but I enjoyed it a lot.
That's the guy from Cheers, right?
Yeah. He's a
Yeah.
likable
Yeah.
character actor.
I saw the thing when he's like, close your eyes, and he said no, and he punched him and knocked him out instead. So I mean, I
he
gotta
plays
chuckle
a
at
good,
that.
hard-headed dude, like you said from
Yeah.
watching God's Not Dead. Plays a good atheist, a good
He
liberal
plays an
professor.
extremely great, arrogant, secular professor, like too well.
Yeah,
Like,
just a little too well.
There's two people, like there's some actors that I still can't stand to this day that I hate them because of the role they did so well. So one of them is Commodus from Gladiator.
I don't know.
You never Russell Crowe?
Oh, I saw that
Gladiator.
so long ago. Yes,
Yeah.
I did see it. Yeah.
But busy little bees. I couldn't stand him. He was the emperor, and then the other one is Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Okay. I've never watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I know
so
that.
he's just such a sick, twisted, evil person in that. I heard, which is the complete opposite of him. Yeah, I heard he's this really down to earth, great guy. He's not acting anymore. He basically did one and done, and he just got married in a little quaint, like bare bones wedding in the middle of the Irish countryside. Something. So, but both of those guys were just they were so hateable, and his character was pretty hateable as well.
Well, I want to see that about Kevin Sorbo, because as you know, he's a native of Minnesota. He's from Mound, which is west of here on Lake Minnetonka. It's a very beautiful area, but he grew up out there. He went to a Lutheran church. He went to school in Moorhead. So he really, he has deep roots here. He's a Scandinavian guy who went to a Lutheran church. And I was excited about that Minnesota connection that we have, because it appears as though he didn't go the route, and I want to dig in with that too.
Yeah, how did he end up conservative?
Or how did he, did he continue? He doesn't seem to have strayed too far off of his Christian path. He does have a testimony up on the Lindell Recovery Network too.
Oh, he does. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did one with Chuck Reich, and it's under the inspirational stories. And he kind of talks about, he was a kind of a, run of the mill Christian. He went to a Billy Graham crusade when he was 13 here at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. I mean, we have these connections there, but yeah, like we're like kindred spirits, he's got to get on here so we can talk about all this.
Except he got out and went to Florida.
Yeah. Oh, there's always just just twist the knife that I'm still in Minnesota. Well, we're on that topic. Let's talk, if you want, my favorite lines in Gladiator: death smiles on us all. All a man can do is smile back. And we mortals are but shadows and dust.
Yep. One of my favorite movies of all time. That's in my top 10.
Well, they did have a Star Wars marathon this weekend on TNT, but I was too busy to watch it because Mike pushes the panic button every Labor Day weekend. Mike becomes, let's do everything that we didn't do this summer, and let's make sure that we, jam pack the weekend as full as we can, which we did. And it starts to wear on me progressively, even though it's fun stuff and it's good family stuff.
Sure.
So we went swimming. We went to the lake with the dog. The dog did the most embarrassing thing in the water that I'm not going to get into, But he did
Yep.
the thing that people at the beach dread and hope. This is the
Yeah.
first time we ever took him to the water in public, and he did
Yep.
the thing. And then Saturday we went to the fair, and as you and I were talking about, we went to the Minnesota State Fair. This is something Mike's been going to since he was 15. He has this nostalgia about it in spite of what our state has become and what public
Yeah.
events have become and the culture of lawlessness that we have here. I think, when we go to crowds, we hear about people toting guns at the Mall of America and people going to these Minnesota attractions that we think are Minnesota nice aren't so nice anymore. So we went to the fair and we were there
No,
for
you guys a little Somalia.
Well, it
Unfortunately.
wasn't, you go to the fair and you think you're going to have a fun family time. And perhaps that can be somewhat true in daylight hours. You're eating corn dogs with your
Right.
family and looking at farm animals. The attendance was 250,000 that day. But combined with all of the fun as night, you don't want to be there after dark. Let's just say that. You don't want to be there after dark.
Nothing good happens after dark. It used to be
Nope.
after midnight. Now it's after dark.
No, and I should have learned that last year, but I didn't learn. We just thought we'd go over to the Midway for one ride, and it was a long distance. The fairgrounds are huge. I think it's the first or second largest fair in the U.S. So it's really big. We got over there, and it was like a demon. I would call it a demon-possessed mosh pit. That's what the environment was like. So we're there,
That's rough.
Let's get out of here. We're like, we're going to let the kids do one ride. And we got out of the Midway, and about a half hour later, there was a shooting right where we were.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I was there, I was full of, I had a very bad feeling. I had a feeling we did not belong there, and this was a bad idea. And this was a mistake. I just thought, I thought of all the things that could have happened. And I was just thanking God for, in spite of our foolishness, that he protected us and got us out of there before we were.
Well, the good news is you were in your car when the shooting happened and not where you were.
Right.
Because that bullet went somewhere, wherever it went, who knows, but it went somewhere. And thank God you weren't there to catch it.
Amen. Yeah, we were in our car for 2 more hours in the parking lot. So, and meanwhile, the governor is saying everything is fine. Everything's fine. The fair's safe. Don't worry. We're going to step up efforts tomorrow. And anyway,
just drive around downtown Minneapolis for a couple hours and see how long it takes you to get carjacked.
Yeah, I try to. It's bad. It's really bad. And I had mentioned to you, they did a really good, I couldn't believe our liberal paper, the Minneapolis Star Tribune, posted a really good opinion piece from somebody talking about, they had done a feature story calling Minneapolis a city in transition, which is complete garbage, but talking about the reality of what it is like living there and what's happening there. This isn't a city in transition. It's a culture of lawlessness. And we have, Scott Jensen running for governor. Finally, a lot of momentum with his campaign, but who knows if it's enough, right?
Who knows? Yeah, we can't talk about that because we're on YouTube right now.
Yeah, right.
Who knows what goes on with elections anymore? That's all we'll say.
Right. So anyway, Jason, how was your weekend? Oh, Mike and I did just to wrap up my weekend, we had a nice getaway for our 18th.
I was proud of Mike. So see, he did one good thing and one terrible thing.
Don't tell him that. He feels bad. He does. He was regretful, genuinely regretful. And I told him it was my fault too for not wanting to go earlier and not thinking that was going to help.
But I think this is a really good teaching point. Again, if I was going to talk about it on Patriot Crusader, we reminisce and we remember the way things used to be. And again, we have to recognize what the world is today, work to change it to what we want it to be, and never mistake it for what it used to be. And
that's well said.
And if you're going to go to something, stack everything in your favor. Go in the morning when people are when the troublemakers sleep in.
Exactly.
Right. So like when I went to January 6th, I went early. I was there. I left while Trump was still talking. Got on the tram before Antifa rolled in, before everything else happened, and avoided all the disaster by stacking everything in my favor. Right. So I had some say whether I was going to get snatched up in anything or if I was going to. Now, if I went there and got caught up in the moment and stayed late, and who knows, I could be, I probably would have walked in the Capitol with everyone else as the police waved me in and been called a terrorist and everything else.
Yeah, I know. Right? You've mentioned that a couple times. And the grace of God, I mean, is just, it just makes me emotional. I mean, to think of
Well, it's like,
how it could have gone for us too.
it's one of those things, right? When again, I've been listening to a lot of Doug Wilson, and we're submitted for approval. I think they're researching us to see if he's going to come on the
good.
show.
Okay.
So, because I spoke to them and I came in there, and I've been watching his Calvinism stuff, and I've been very resistant that God doesn't care on what I choose for dinner or whether I have water or sparkling water. But when I look at all the things in my life, there's things that stop me, whether it's my car breaking down or something else happened that caused me to go in a certain direction and avoid catastrophe. That would beg to differ that those things weren't that he wasn't involved in those, because if it was left to me, I would have made the wrong decision, and he protected me from making those decisions. So, again, in this big soup, as we swim through it and try to make sense of it and try to figure out where we fit in everything, sometimes I'm like, man, if you think of all the events that would have to happen for like a tree to fall on you in the woods, like, the lightning strike that happened that hit the base that caused it to rot, the winds that had to happen over X amount of time for that to happen, and you have to pitch a tent camp there, and a tree fall. And that happened to a bunch of SEALs I know. Here's Kevin. I told you he'd be
All right.
All right, so here we go.
30, it's only 120.
Hey,
Kevin!
Kevin, how you doing?
Oh, hey, Kevin. Welcome.
We are live right now. Can you hear us, Kevin?
I can hear you.
We can't hear you.
You're just a little delayed, slightly.
It's not on mute.
Okay. Are you using Chrome by chance? I know that's the browser you want to use with the restream.
I got.
Huh. Because right now there's about a 2-second delay between your lips and your sound. And you're in Florida, right?
I'm in Florida.
Yep. So why?
What to tell you? It says
Try logging out. Yeah. So if you're on Chrome, I would say try logging out and try logging back in and see if that forges a different connection, and then we can go from there.
I'm not going to have this Chrome conversation with you again, because I made it abundantly clear you need to use Chrome. Chrome. And actually, Maggie Kavanaugh told me that yesterday when I was on her podcast. She said, make sure you use Chrome. I didn't see you're going on her show in September also. Yeah. Very nice graphics.
It's got to be Chrome, or else there's going to be a delay.
Yeah. Yep. So we've learned that the hard way, or I have.
Well, I know you put it out in the email, but
but just making sure.
But all conservatives hate Google, and they hate Google Chrome, so they don't want to have it, but they have to have it if they want to use this software to have the best experience possible. Right. So again, that is the only issue. So if we got to sit there. I think we should put that. We know you hate Chrome.
We know you hate Chrome. Yes, as a disclaimer,
but you have to use it, or else it won't be that good.
Maybe that would help with the compliance a little bit if we did that. Well, he should be logging back in. But so you had a great sermon. I said to Mike, yeah, that's right. Jason switched his service to 7 p.m. I'm glad to hear that worked out better for everyone involved.
Jason, I got caught up at the start of the stream. Yes, Mike Kaiser he's a good Christian evangelical, but isn't afraid to show me the rabbit hole journey in other areas like me.
Yeah.
Chrome has its places. It does.
So what else did you do besides?
So Saturday is our big fence building project. So we got all of our stuff delivered. It's in the front yard. And then from there, we've got several other projects that we're going to be working on. But as a whole, right now, we're just next week, this Saturday, we put up the privacy fence. Next week, we process 50 chickens, which it's going to be a disaster
50.
here.
Processed.
50 processed. That
Mike's mom used to process chickens.
From clucking to freezer bags.
Yeah.
Wow. Freezer camp. And then we're going from there to our 100 Freedom Rangers got here as well. So they're rapidly growing away. I also ordered another 2 pigs that are going to be coming in November. So I'm pretty excited about that. They're Berkshires. They're really buttery. They're meat, and I think that we're going to be able to make some really good combos out of everything.
And the coffee ice cream doesn't hurt
The
either,
coffee ice cream
to top it off.
Yeah, well, we had coffee ice cream, and because B's been having some stomach issues, we've been doing. She's been on gluten free, so we couldn't go to our Sunday tradition. Plus, we're doing it at night now, doing service at night. So Bella Vito, if you're in Johnson City, hit Bella Vito up. It's the best Italian south of New York City.
Chicken
One
parm.
of the best chicken parms I've ever had in my life. It's
knew
amazing.
It.
They do overcook their pasta though, which is a bummer, but their pie is amazing and their chicken parm is the best, and their meatballs too. Their meatballs dissolve in your mouth. You don't even have to chew them.
I had coffee custard at the fair, and it was
it good?
It was so good. It was very creamy and delicious. I think it was called
Lauren's ice cream is kind of like
custard.
I don't know if it qualifies as custard because she uses eggs. I think that's one of the. I don't know what else makes it custard. She can sound off in that. So but other than that, the service at 7 p.m. was was a success for us as our family. It was still, people are adjusting to the new time, and we'll see how that goes. The other thing is I'm just getting ready to do a bunch of firearms training and training a bunch of people. My workouts are going great. I'm feeling amazing again. My knees are still are getting better. They're not where I want them to be yet, but I think I'm going to be able to PT away the problem instead of being cut on or anything like that. So awesome. Everything is going really, really well. And again, the Michael Heiser stuff is kind of draw my attention. I just don't like it when there's not a lot of data, right? Everyone handles the Nephilim portion in like one little footnote in their study Bible. And I really wanted to crash into that and see what's there and see, how my rational mind processes fantastic, miraculous, spirit realm stuff, if you know what I'm saying.
Speaking of that, you just remind me of something. I had a horrible, horrible nightmare this morning. I rarely have dreams like this, nightmares. And I know you're not a dreams guy or prophetic guy. I pray to God it wasn't a prophetic or anything like that. But I came out of a dead sleep. I had this dream that my daughter was kidnapped, and I was at a movie theater, and I went to get a drink, and I turned around and she was gone. And I was walking around calling her name. Couldn't find her, wandering through crowds. The next part of the dream, I was in a store, like a Target store, watching surveillance, trying to see what had happened. And
Kevin's back, so let's see if this works.
Hey, check Kevin.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. There's a delay. We'll just roll with it. We're gonna
roll with it.
We'll roll with it because we don't want to mess you around anymore. I missed your sword, man. Was that from Call the Conqueror, or where did that sword come from? See, there's a delay.
Can you hear me?
Can't hear him.
There's still a delay.
Hold on. Yeah, there's still a delay. I see you have your expert there off to your right working on it.
Well, it's my wife.
It resolved.
This is her room. I have Google, but if it's still going to get delay, I don't know what to do, guys.
Yeah, we might have to reschedule, Ken, which is heartbreaking.
Kevin, I know you're busy. I know this was your only day you could do it. But we don't want to shortchange the interview. We're really excited.
She's got Google and
Google Chrome.
I'm not on Chrome on this one. All right, guys,
That's what it is. Chrome. Yeah, the browser has to be Chrome. It's just a plugin that okay. So for all guests that come on, Chrome is the key.
As we are, waiting, I just asked for prayers from people. I shouldn't have got into that as we're jumping into this, but
that's a horrible nightmare.
I came out of it like crying, like wailing. I haven't done that for a year. I used to have drinking dreams like that, but this was like a horrific nightmare.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Praise the Lord.
I was gonna say that sword on the back of your wall, was that from Call the Conqueror, or where was that from, Hercules?
That was from Hercules. Cull was just a one-off movie. Hercules was 7 years of blood, sweat, and tears. So
Oh, I watched an awful lot of them. You and Xena, the warrior
yeah,
princess.
Xena.
were on
that was
there.
we always joke that's our 3rd-year lesbian spin-off show.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
it's,
great.
And then yeah, we by our 3rd year, pardon the sin of pride here, we became the most watched TV show in the world. We were in 176 countries, and the Universal Studios had an extra hour open up, and they decided, hey, let's do a sort of a female Hercules type of show, and that's how they came up with that idea for that. And they had another actress booked for the role out of America, and she got really ill, like hospital ill, just a week before her flying down there, and they were panicking. So talk about being in the right place at the right time for Lucy Lawless, because she had guest starred in about 4 or 5 episodes those first few years. And just they panicked. They had to get it going because everything, the machine was rolling. So I'm talking about like, wow, lucky or not, but it worked out quite well. In our 5th year, we spun off Young Hercules, and that was with an unknown 20-year-old actor playing me as a teenager by the name of Ryan Gosling.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So it's
Really cool. Really cool.
Well, Ryan, if you're out there, dude, put me in one of your movies. You owe me.
No, I was also, a lot of people I know who are fans of Andromeda as well.
Yes.
Loved you in that.
I love
And,
Andromeda.
Yeah. I mean, that was some really great content.
I got to give you a quick thing on that one. It was we were halfway through season 7 of Hercules, and Universal was ready to do seasons 8, 9, and 10 of the series. I was ready to kind of move on. I loved it. I loved doing it. I loved being in New Zealand. I get a call from Majel Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry's widow, who was Nurse Chapel on the series for all those years, and also the voice of the computer in all the movies.
Yeah.
And she says, my husband wrote a show in 1969 after Star Trek was canceled, just after 3 seasons. People don't know that Star Trek only lasted 3 years.
Yeah.
And I said, stop. If you're offering me a role, I said, I'm there. So I played Captain Dylan Hunt, the first captain ever created after Captain Kirk. So it was kind of an honor because I grew up watching reruns.
Yeah, me too.
Every episode of Star Trek 50 times during my high school and college years. So it was really an honor to play that role. And we did 5 years on that show. It was good fun.
Yeah. And then last night, just to to freshen up, I watched God's Not Dead Again. And you play the most believable, arrogant professor I've ever seen in my life. There are a few people I've wanted to punch in the face. Commodus from Gladiator, Joffrey from Game of Thrones, and that guy are on my list.
My mom told me afterwards, she saw the movie, she goes, I love the movie, but I really hated you. And I said, then I did a good job. So,
yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Great writing. Great writing. And there's a movie that I did prior to that from the same writers, Chuck and Carrie, that I think is better. It's called What If? And,
that's what I watched this morning, Kevin. I've wanted to watch it a while, and I thought
that's where Cliffy knocked you out in the car.
Yeah,
John Ratzenberger.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch it, and I know it's probably 10 years old, right?
Yeah, it is. But I'll tell you, I've done over 70 movies, and that movie's, as I mentioned, View Melissa, that's in my top 3. I think that movie, in my book, is better than God's Not Dead. But the trouble with independent movies, when you got low budget movies, it's so hard to promote them because we're not Avengers. We're not Pirates of the Caribbean where they have $300 million budget. We shoot $3 million movies. That's catering on those kind of movies. So we have to rely on word of mouth. And even though I think we do better movies with a better, well, obviously, too, with a much better positive message than the crap coming out of Hollywood. It's frustrating that we have to, fight that fight because I have a hard time raising $3 million to do the movies I do. So if you got any investors out there and want to do movies that change the culture, I have yet to lose any of my investors' money. So there.
Well, I'll tell you, you guys are the tip of the spear. Just like, there's a massive movement right now. And politically, it takes a long time to flip the culture. But the culture war, like to flip politically. But you can flip the culture with a hit movie, a hit song, and you see like there are rappers out there that are godly Christian conservative rappers, you guys, and the great thing is there's a lot of venues that are popping up now that can play like places for you to go with these outside of just the box office, right? You got Pureflix and, there's Angel Studios making their stuff and there's a ton of God content out there. So it really makes me excited to see that there's places for you guys to go. One of my friends, Jonathan Hickory, Dean Cain did a movie with him on his story. It was Unchained, I think
I always
it
forget
was a
the name
cop
of it.
suicide one.
Yeah.
Jonathan Hickory did with that. And again, so I think it's great that there are some places for you guys to go now because there's an appetite for it, and the gap between talent has narrowed considerably. You know what I'm saying?
And
Just
production value as well. I mean, production
Yeah.
value. You don't have to have the equipment now is just like any technology. It gets cheaper and cheaper, but it's great technology. And you have so many people on both sides of the camera that want to work. So it's not difficult to find really good camera people or wardrobe or makeup artists. I mean, it's out there and people want to work. And it's been a godsend for me over these last 10 years doing more and more of these type of movies. Because it's just, when I do Dean Cain, actually a dear friend of mine, we shot 2 more movies this year together. I have another one that I'm going to have him in that I'm directing as well next year. So Dean's a good buddy, and I got a movie coming with John Schneider. We're doing a Western together.
Oh, I love John Schneider.
John's awesome. And he's got a song we're going to put in the movie on closing credits.
So a name just came up that you may not, Kevin McRoberts, who's this cameraman with this very robust beard, and he worked with you on like the Young Republicans, or he's wanted me to give a shout out. He's on here in chat. Break Every Chain was the movie that I was talking about with Dean Cain, but he was the camera guy. He said you were nothing but a class act and so kind. So I just wanted, when I saw his name up here,
very cool. I've got 3 movies in the can. 2 of them I directed and produced and acted, and 1 I acted in. But the 2 coming out around probably January of next year. One's called Miracle in East Texas, true story set in 1930. John Ratzenberger's in that one again. He did awesome. We got Lou Gossett Jr. in Tyler, Maine. Great true story about the largest oil fund in the history of the world. The other one I just finished directing is called Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist, based off the next book from Left Behind. And that'll be out in January. And I shot the Reagan movie with Dennis Quaid. He plays the president, I play his pastor. That's going to be out in January, February. And I got 2 documentaries. And I'm about to hit the road. I leave tomorrow for Montana to shoot a movie there. Then I go to Mississippi to shoot a movie there. Then I go to West Virginia to shoot a movie. So I'm booked out through November right now.
All right. Well, if you need security as a former Salem cop, I'll take the Montana
Jason
gig. The rest
does
are good.
security. The rest are good.
I love it.
Well, we're so fortunate you could stop by here and give us a little bit of your.
Where are you based? Where do you live?
I'm in the Twin Cities, so I wanted to talk about that.
It's like Minneapolis.
This is the Minneapolis. I live in Lakeville, so I live in Southwest Metro. But I know you're from Mound, and I know that you were. Yeah, I studied up on you a little bit, like I did Mike Lindell before I started working, or before I found out he was a crack addict and all this. But I know you're Scandinavian. You went to a Lutheran church. You had that kind of similar upbringing I had. Yeah. I'm from Duluth, so I'm from northern Minnesota, but I've been here for 10 years. So I went
to Morehead State University.
Yes, I can't believe it. I mean, I said to Jason, I was at the fair Friday night or Saturday night, and there was a shooting there. And I said, we need to know if Kevin is really Minnesota nice, and if he's really, I know you dislike the politics here as much as we do.
Turning into California. It's pathetic.
It's a scary thing. Jason's constantly telling me you need to get out of there and move to Tennessee. I do have some school age kids here, which has prevented that. But I do want to go back to your testimony. You did an awesome testimony for the Lindell Recovery Network that we have up about your upbringing. And from what I gathered, you didn't seem to have a really rebellious streak. You can correct me on that, but it seems like you stayed, fairly constant to your Christian roots. I mean, maybe it was, you became more on fire as the years went by, but can you take us back a little bit and just share what your home was like and what your childhood was like living in Mound?
A little town, about 7,000 people. I don't think the population has changed much because there's only so much real estate wrapping around that western part of the shore there. You got richer people moving out there now because there's a quicker drive in from Mountain to the cities. But great community. I had great teachers. Public education back then was a heck of a lot better than it is today. The sporting community. I mean, 5,000 people would show up for a high school football games. It was just amazing. So I had a great safety net all around me, and it was just very fortunate to go to the church I went to and the people that were involved in my life. The youth pastor we had there, Pastor Lee, was just really instrumental in my life. Speaking of Minnesota State Fair, Billy Graham came to speak there back when I was 13 years old, and we took a bunch of. There were like 250,000 people there. It was just crazy. And when he finished speaking, he called people to come up. And something I never would have done, because I was like the last guy to raise my hand in class, even though I was an A and B student. I was a good student, but I was never like, oh, pick me, But I decided to walk up there. I remember my buddies going, where are you going? I said, I don't know. I got to go up there and talk to one of his volunteers. I sat in the grass. I'm talking to this guy. He's probably 30, so he's really old. I was 13. And I take 30 right now in a heartbeat. But anyway, all of a sudden, it was a full moon. It was a hot August night, and all of a sudden a hand went on my head, and I turned, and there was Billy Graham, the Reverend Billy Graham. And his head the moon was just glowing behind. It's like this, coming out of his head. And I told that story on the Larry King Show years later. And they heard it at Chicken Soup for the Soul. And Chicken Soup for the Soul did a hardcover book. The only time they ever did a hardcover book on Chicken Soup for the Soul was for Billy Graham. And they had 101 stories of, people who have been touched by his life. And I was honored they asked me to write a story. Well, when the book was coming out, I got a call from Larry Ross, who runs the publicity down there out of the Dallas area. And he said, hey, the Reverend wants you to go around and promote the book. He's well in his 90s. He can't get around. Are you willing to do it? And I said, are you kidding me? Send me the tickets now. So I was honored to be able to fly around the country and do talk shows promoting the book, which was really cool.
Oh,
awesome. Larry Ross is a good friend of Mike Lindell, and I've met him a couple times. Just a fantastic. Yeah, I told him you were coming on. He's busy, so sometimes he isn't tracking all of our guests. But I said, "Hey, Mike, Kevin Sorbo's on tomorrow." He said, "Awesome." So hopefully he's tuning in. But yeah, it sounds like that was a real pivotal moment.
He didn't say awesome. He said, "Awesome."
You want to see it? Awesome! It had 2 exclamation points.
Just don't give him coffee.
Oh boy!
Well, he sells coffee, so watch out.
Coffee. It's good. It's really good. You got to try
it. Pastor Seal Cop Jason, where are you based? Where are you at?
I'm in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
we almost moved it. We had our shortlist when we left LA almost 4 years ago. Shortlist was Dallas, Nashville, or anywhere in Florida. We ended up in Florida, but I love Nashville. I have very good friends there, and I've shot about 7 movies in that area, and shot with Amy Grant, one of the movies. I highly recommend it. So, but it was a good time.
Oh, really cool. I wanted to talk about something that has nothing to do with the movie industry that you do that we share in common. Is you're involved where our families train, or is that the name of it? It's the family self-defense course that you do.
Yeah, it's coming up here. WOFT, WOFT. It's right. It's I think the first weekend in December. I'm hosting an event there, so people go to sorbostudios.com. They can sign up and go to WOFT, WOFT, and then check it out. These guys are amazing. They're great, and they do it's not just about guns. It's just about self-awareness and what's going on in the world right now. Walking to your car in the parking lot, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's just a really good.
It's a lot of role play, correct? I mean, from what you were doing, and I've done a lot of that in the SEAL teams where we do force-on-force training, and also in law enforcement. Role play training, when you have great role players in the right facilities and simunition and all that stuff, is phenomenal. You'll learn more about that than you will in 100 days sitting there shooting a paper target. So I really recommend that stuff.
Awesome. Thank you for giving that plug. I appreciate it, because they're great. Those guys are doing good stuff.
All right. What's up?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Kevin, you've been such a beacon of light in Hollywood, and I saw an interview. You're talking about how, well, it's wicked and depraved, and it's, having a couple I have a 12 and a 14-year-old and a daughter who's out of the house. But I was just wondering how your path went. Were you ever compelled to sell out to any big roles, or, were you so grounded that you were just never tempted by that?
Not really. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm a 13-year overnight success in Hollywood, so I did pay my dues.
I love that. That's so good.
But when I went out there, I had a double business major, marketing, advertising, and a minor in drama. I knew what I always wanted to do, but I got a real degree. I didn't get a degree in 17th century French art and expect you to pay my years of college now.
Right.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine said, hey, Sorbs, when you get out there, remember it's called show business, not show. And I always remember that. I treat it like a business. I pounded pavement. I didn't know anybody. I went out there and I beat up old Honda Prelude, and I went out there and just pursued and followed that dream. And, Hercules, I did a couple pilots. Things started rolling for me. I did a lot of commercial work. I was very lucky. Started doing commercials in Minnesota, Target, Best Buy, Dairy Queen, whatever, all the national headquarters there. And I never had to work another job, so I was very fortunate that way. Commercial work kept paying my rent and paying my, car loan, all that stuff. And when I got my big break with Hercules, it was initially supposed to be just 5 2-hour movies. By the 3rd movie, the studio said, stay there. We love what's going on. And it just took off from there. So I never with that success, I was in New Zealand. You know, I mean, I was getting this worldwide success, but I was in New Zealand. I was on the bottom of the world. So I couldn't go to all the movie premieres. I couldn't get caught up in any of that stuff. And then when I got Andromeda, I went straight from New Zealand to Canada for 5 years. So I was really out of America from 1993 to 2005. I only spent about 2 months to go back in the States.
Wow.
Oh, I loved it. It was great. And so it really, I saw what was going on in Hollywood. And I started getting more vocal about it around 2010. My wife started warning me about it. And I said, look, I'm tired of the hypocrisy. I said, why can't I have a point of view that's opposite? I've always been a conservative, even though I grew up in Minnesota. My parents were, you know, Walter Mondale, Hubert Humphrey Democrats,
Yeah.
who would be considered centrist today.
Yes.
You know,
Mhm.
and I voted for Reagan the first time I could vote, 1980. My parents were like, "You got to be kidding me!" And I said, "I think Jimmy Carter's going to go down as the worst president we've ever had." And I was right until the last, 15 years.
Yeah, that's
until recently.
We've had two other people take over that role,
Yeah.
but it's I never really had to. There were roles that were offered to me that I was uncomfortable with. If that's what you're saying, sure. I said, I don't want to do that. I want to play roles like that. And I wanted to do more and more positive roles. Hollywood basically booted me out. My agent manager called me in 10 years ago and said, wow, we can't work with you anymore. Because being a Christian and a conservative in Hollywood is like being a double leopard, which is really weird to me because I don't harbor that anger and hate that they have towards somebody like me. I don't get it. I don't know why all of a sudden Hollywood for the last 50 years has turned, because Hollywood used to be more conservative. And they have just switched the gear the other way. And it's weird to me when you get these A-list actors coming out and say, I'll never work with that guy, he's conservative. And I'm going, they're like seventh graders in junior high school. It's just really pathetic and so infantile with me. But I'm going to keep doing the movies I do. And just, I'm just trying to, whatever I can do, put movies out there that made me want to be an actor to begin with. Was watching old Cary Grant, Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn, all these are movies that I loved. Because these movies were just good movies. They usually had a pretty good message in them too.
Well, again, fighting the culture war on all fronts is, I think, the biggest priority that we need to do right now. Obviously, getting back to God, and as the culture goes, so will the politics and everything else. And I don't think it's, I think The Chosen has played a big role in that. I think that. I think God's Not Dead has been, again, another one that I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I was an atheist.
Let There Be Light. Let There Be Light. Another good one.
Let There Be Light. All right. We'll check that out as well. There you go.
You got to see that movie. All right. How do I do this?
There we go. It's also the banner on your Twitter feed right now. So I saw that.
By the way, you mentioned The Chosen. That's Dallas Jenkins.
Dallas Jenkins.
Dallas directed What If.
I was going to tell you that, Jason. I knew you'd be excited about
his father, Jerry Jenkins, who did Left Behind books along with LaHaye, he funded that movie. So there's my tie in there. And Dallas, I keep giving a hard time. So I said, Dallas, when am I going to be on The Chosen? He says, you don't look like from the Middle East. And I said, I can be a Roman guard.
Yeah.
He said to me, he says, wow, you're too recognizable. And I started laughing at him. I said, yeah, I was watching the movie the other day, and it wasn't until the closing credits, like, oh, that was Brad Pitt. I had no idea that was Brad Pitt. Wow.
You could be a Roman guard.
He is working on a What If television series. He wants to do a What If series with me.
Oh, that'd be great.
So we'll see what happens. He's very busy with The Chosen right now. So,
well, and and I get into it with people all the time, and the theologians and everything else, who everyone has to pass some imaginary purity test. And people have tried to like say that the Chosen is bad and this and that because there's Mormon money backing it or whatever. And I'm just like, dudes, just watch the show, be on guard for heresy, and just look at it for what it is. It's not a sermon. It is art. It's art. You're the same people go in there and point out flaws in, the Sistine Chapel. Let's get over it.
This is the world we're living in right now. It's unbelievable. Look, I used to do all these autograph shows all the time, these Comic-Cons. There's about half of them now that don't want me anymore. The cancel culture has come in to cancel me because of where I stand as a conservative, not let alone as a Christian, because I'm conservative. So I keep going, wait a minute. So who are these 10 people that emailed in that said, oh, if Sorbo shows up, we're going to cause problems? Said, they know who I am. Why can't I face my accuser? But we're letting these punks have their way. But I would love to do a documentary on these people because I'm pretty sure there's a common denominator with all of them. But I keep telling people right now, freedom over fear, guys. Freedom
Oh, yeah.
over fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Because
Well-
that's government's favorite weapon is fear.
I admire you so much for what you're doing and putting out quality Christian content that people like me and my family want to watch. And I've said this to Mike Lindell too, and I'll often come up with this Bible verse, I've set my face like a flint. You know, I feel that God has rewarded him for his perseverance. And I'm wondering if you would say it's been the same for you, your faithfulness to serve him and your obedience and not selling out. And instead, even if people cancel you or people aren't going to, offer you certain roles, do you feel like God has just been with you the whole while through your career?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had a wake up call back in 1997. It was a season 5 of Hercules, where I was having all kinds of problems with my shoulder. I couldn't figure what was going on with it and stuff. And when I got back to LA to do promotional work on Call the Conqueror, which I shot the previous year, I finally went to see my doctor in LA, and they found a lump way up here. And he said, I'm going to do a biopsy on that. But before that happened, I went to see my chiropractor. In 8 years, he's never cracked my neck. Okay, I'm laying on the table. A voice warns me, be loud. Don't let him crack your neck. Don't let him crack your neck. I thought, that is so weird. He's never cracked my neck. He knows not to. He cracked my neck. Well, that ended up being an aneurysm that had been spitting blood clots on my arm. But that crack forced 4 clots on my brain. I suffered 4 strokes.
Oh my God.
It took me 3 years to fully recover from it. So
Wow.
to me, it was a warning that I didn't heed. And I believe it was God's voice warning me about the crack. When I came out of that, I said, you know what? One thing I got to give Hercules, the writers, they always put pretty good messages in there. Herc never started fights. He always tried to talk people out of it. And there was always good morality in it. They would never do a show like that today on TV. They would never see a show like Touched by an Angel ever again. That's something changes.
Yeah.
But or All in the Family, right? And that was back in the early 70s. So I decided right then and there, I said, I want to do more and more things that have a positive message instead of a negative one. And that was really a catalyst to really kick it off for me. And I think that's what has made the biggest difference in the movies that I want to be part of and the movies that I want to do. Hollywood booted me out was frustrating for me, and it was weird to me because they're always screaming for tolerance and freedom of speech. But as you know, for them it's a one-way street.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep fighting the good fight. I get stopped all the time through hotel lobbies, airports, restaurants, and it's not Hercules or Andromeda. It's 80% God's Not Dead, Soul Surfer, What If, Let There Be Light. Please make more movies like that. There's 80 million homes in this country that want that. And Hollywood, with their bizarre ideology, is just blowing that off. Even though they can scream socialism and capitalism is a good thing. They all want to make, socialism or Marxism, they're all capitalists. They want to make money. Let's face it. Let's not.
Well, they're all marketing to China now too, right? That's the biggest market out there.
Look, I'm a golfer, as you can tell. I just got off the course, so I got serious golf out here right now. So I look at these guys that left the PGA with this live tour, and they're crazy because they're saying, "Oh, it's Saudi Arabian money." I go, "Look at all the money you're taking from China." I say,
it's so hypocritical.
It's just amazing to me. Well, if you're all going to play this game, then all of you just don't do it together. But Jason, as you said, everybody is pointing out the flaws in everybody else. I get atheist friends, agnostic friends that I have say, yeah, but you Christians think you're so perfect. And I go, well, that's not true, but there's enough out there that think they are. And I had a friend tell me, but I was going to do an interview at the Crystal Cathedral down in Orange County. This is years ago. He said, don't ever blow, don't ever screw up. This behind the green room, there's other spots. And I said, well, he goes, they'll never forgive you. And I said, well, then that's incredibly sad. We should be the most forgiving people in the world. And you're right. There are people out there that are so holier than thou that they don't want to look at, they look at the speck in your eye, right? Not the log in their own. And this is what we got to deal with. And churches need to work together. They don't work together. And that's why we have a big problem. And people that are from church vote, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
People don't vote.
Well, that just drove me crazy with all the never Trumpers. Like, he didn't pass some purity test. And then all of us got to spike the football when Roe v. Wade got overturned. Like, this is what we were seeing. We didn't care about his tweets. We cared about his policies. And that's
it. I tell people all the time, hey, you don't like his personality. Fine. You're never going to have lunch with the guy, okay? Tell me which policies you didn't like. And they can't name them. They've been so brainwashed by CNN and MSNBC and all the mainstream media. and all they can look at it, go, well, he said this and that. And I go, yeah, and Obama's perfect, and Biden, who just lies every freaking day. What a perfect being is.
I think you have to know what you're saying to be lying. I think he just reads
that's
words
right.
on the thing, and he doesn't even know what's real
He's
anymore.
a puppet.
But it's
Yeah.
weird. It's like, I go, look at all the policies that Trump had. We were energy independent. We had a border in control. We had everything going down the right way. We had a military that was going to slowly be taken out, not just yanked out and leave $80 billion of our taxpayer money equipment behind. I mean, I don't get it why people don't realize there's hundreds of thousands crossing our borders every day. We should bust them all these sanctuary states, give them to them. And they started complaining about that.
Well, they come to Minnesota, so we're
well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, I love your sweaty hair and your matted down hair and your visor, and you obviously are still Minnesota nice and humble. But how have you kept yourself grounded? How have you not gotten swept up in the stardom and the lure of money and wealth and all that?
I think it helps, like the saying, not having success right away. I mean, you can look at kid actors, child actors, almost all of them are screwed up one way or another, or people that found success very quickly. And I saw an interesting thing with I can't think of his name. He was on that 80s show, 70s show. He's from Iowa originally.
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher. Yeah.
He said, because he got out to LA and got that show right away. He put no time in. And he said he went through a phase where he said, man, my ego, everything took control. And now he sounds in his 40s. He's really grounded and said, I really screwed up. And I thought, good for him to admit to that, to sit there and say, but he learned from it, and he had a near-death experience as well. And he talked about that. So I think, these little, we're all going to hit roadblocks in life. How you react to it, I think, is what makes the person that you're going to end up being. But because, most people want to blame a God they don't believe in, or family, friends, or the world, or the government, instead of looking in the mirror and saying, this is the problem, I'm the problem. But we have so many, look, I got so many trolls. Facebook took me down already a year and a half ago. I'm still on Twitter. Follow me at KSorbs on Twitter. I do very funny tweets.
I tagged you in my tweet. If you could share it, that'd be great.
Cool. I will do that. Right. No, but it's funny that the trolls that come in, doesn't matter what I say, they just go after it with hate and anger. And I got to feel sorry for these people.
How have you survived on Twitter with all the bannings?
I know.
You must be
I don't know.
really...
I think, well, I'm not. I try to keep, I thought for sure they'd take me down when I said, you want to get rid of COVID, tell the Clintons that COVID's got something on it,
Yeah.
COVID will, magically commit suicide. But it's, I don't know. I just, the thing I post because all my conspiracy theories that took me down from Facebook, I said, anybody have any more conspiracy theories? Because mine keep coming true.
Because they're coming true. Yeah, exactly.
And they did.
Yeah.
So
I was checking out your Twitter feed. It's good stuff.
Keep fighting it. What did you say? I'm sorry.
So I was checking out your Twitter feed. It's good stuff. There are people who are good at making very, succinct, sharp comments.
Stop sending money to Ukraine. That was one of your famous ones, right?
People need to do some information about Ukraine and what they had tied in with our government. Look at the Bidens. It's there, and yet people attack on that too. I don't know. I did one. I said I'm a heavy golfer. I don't like to swear on the golf course, so I've changed my F word to Fauci. So if I have a bad golf shot, I go, Fauci.
That's great. I love that. That's really good. They can't fault you for that. You're just a little edgy.
That's funny. So
do you ever get back? Sorry.
Go ahead, Melissa. Go ahead.
No, this isn't a super important question, but it is going to be 90 here today. I was wondering if you ever get back to Minnesota. Do you come out here, family, or anything?
I usually get back every summer for at least 10 days. The last 2 years, when I able to get back, I was supposed to be back here about 6 weeks ago to shoot a movie, actually, which is amazing to me. I've never shot in my home state other than commercials back pre-Hercules years. And they moved it. They keep moving it. I don't know what's going on. They're probably not funded, and they said they were, but they moved it now to next year, which is too bad. But I hope to get up there. It'll have to wait till now spring or summer because it's that type. It can't be in the winter. It deals with car racing and things like that.
Okay.
And we were going to shoot based in Eagan, just outside of St. Paul.
Wow. Well, that's 20 minutes from me, so I'll have to come lurk around.
I'd love to come back. My best buddies are still from high school and college years there. We keep in touch all the time. When I lived in California, they came out every year to golf during the winters. They came this year to my house in February. They left Minnesota. It was 16 below. They landed here. It was 82 degrees.
Oh,
And we spent Super Bowl Sunday together, and then we golfed 5 days in a row. Just had a blast.
that sounds great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Jason, go ahead, Jason.
I was mine isn't a serious question. I just want to know how much you laughed during Meet the Spartans.
We laughed a lot.
I was gonna say your stomach must have hurt and your face must have hurt from smiling.
Well, I'm a David Zucker fan, and I'm sure you've seen Airplane and all those other movies that Zucker's done. And I love those kind of spoofs. And when these guys called me up, because I just saw 300. Somebody said, "Oh, you got to check out 300, man." So I'm watching this. I went to a matinee in between casting for me, and I go watch it, and I was like, "Going, it's filmed really well, all inside a studio, all green screen, And I thought of that hole in the middle there. This is Sparta, and they're killing people, throwing people on this hole. And I said, how many dogs and kids fall in that every day and die? No barrier. And I said, this is a perfect movie to spoof. And the guys that did the epic movie, scary movie, those are the directors of this one. They called me up, and I stopped them halfway through. He said, dude, I'm in. So we laughed. We laughed so hard, skipping into battle, the Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive" and stuff like that. It's just,
I was just wondering why you weren't in the breakdancing, the dance off.
I was at the very end.
Okay,
if you watch the ending credits, we're singing that. Okay, but you're right. That was in the movie. I didn't do that part, but
those were pros.
After they have all the credits roll by, they cut to the American Idol stage or America's Got Talent stage, and we're all singing, dancing to "I Will Survive." So, and I was at an event in Phoenix, and Gloria Gaynor was there, and she saw me and pulled me up on stage to sing with her.
Wow.
It was pretty
what
cool.
What a charmed life.
Oh man, I used to dance to that in high school.
It's a great song.
What is your favorite movie that you made? You said one was your top.
My
three.
favorite. I got to put What If in there for sure. Let There Be Light, I think, is a wonderful movie that was funded by Sean Hannity. He called me up out of the blue one day and said, "Hey, Sorbo, I love the movies you've done. You got something like it." We flew to New York. We pitched them. Wrote a check right then and there. I really enjoyed the Left Behind movie. I think it's gonna be a really wonderful movie out there. It's the next chapter, and I took over the Raymond Steele role for people that read those books. The last one they did was 8 years ago with Nicolas Cage in that role.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a lot there. I've done over 70 movies. There's a dozen that suck, but you don't think they're going to suck when you make them. You think you got something good, but then you see the final cut and go, no, that's pretty stinky. But I do have some really good documentaries. I just got back from Israel. I shot 3 weeks there. And we did one dealing with the Tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant through archaeological digs. It's fascinating. Don't have a title yet. Could be The Search for the Ark. I don't know, but that'll be out probably late this year or early next year. I did one that was the #1 documentary last year on Amazon called Before the Wrath. I highly recommend it. I narrated it. It's Brent Miller's company, Ingenuity Films. It was a #1 for 5 months on Amazon. We just did the follow-up. I'm doing the narration for it coming up here soon. This deals with the Last Supper. I love the title. It's called Eating with the Enemy, and this will be out in the spring. So we got some good ones coming up, and I've got a couple other docs coming up. I'm about to do a Christmas one that I'll be narrating as well, which I'm looking forward to do. So I'm staying really
You do
busy.
stay very busy. That's excellent.
Yep.
I'm glad the work keeps coming. It's definitely so needed.
I search for it, trust me. So
how did you get tied up in self-defense and doing the family stuff? I mean, it's needed. It's what I did to pay the bills.
Well, we're gun-toting Americans here. So, Antifa, I'd be very careful coming down my street. So, not only me, I live in the horse country here in Florida. So I think as many guns as we got, I think my neighbors on either side of me have more. I mean, we have a shooting range here on our property, which is awesome.
Same.
And my 2 boys are really good shots. They're much better. I'm a pretty good shot. These guys, my boys are really good. And it's we're all legal, and it's all, for me, we're Second Amendment guys through and through. So I think that got to hold these guys, and they got in touch with me for it. And I think some of the movies I've done, I did a couple Walking Tall movies that I love being part of. I play the lead character in them with Sony, and they did very well. In fact, they hemmed and hawed for at least 6 months if they're going to make a series out of it or not, and they never did, which is too bad. But we shot those in Dallas, and I think they've seen those movies that I've done, you know, military movies. I've done a couple of those. So my brother was 23 years in the Army, Lieutenant Colonel Scott Sorbo. So God bless your service and his as well. And I do a lot of work with Gary Sinise and his program. Gary moved to Nashville. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Oh no, I didn't know.
He left LA about 6 months ago. LA's
smart move.
I tell you, 5 million people have left California over the last 10 years. 5 million.
Wow.
And the Democrat Party. It's got to be on purpose, because everything they do is the opposite of what needs to be done to make life better for people.
Yeah, or the opposite of what's biblical to do. Yeah. I wanted to say also kudos to you for being married, I think, for 24 years.
Yes.
Since 1998 to your wife, Sam.
10 years in Hollywood marriages is like a golden anniversary. So we're really
That's very impressive.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
So what's the top places you want people to go? So the event in December, you said, which is where we train our families, or train WOTH. WOFT. Okay.
So please go there and check it out. And also they can go to sorbostudios.com. It's sorbostudios.com. Has my wife, all of her stuff and all my stuff is combined. We've got our books. We've got our, how to get all of the speaking events. It's got information just to sign up to keep updated for the things we have coming down the road. But it's a good place to go that will have all kinds of information on.
Awesome.
By the way, May of 2023, which is also on sorbostudios.com, but May of 2023, we're going back to Israel. We did it in 2019, took a group of people. We're taking another group of 80 people, 2 buses. We have 3 guides. It's an amazing trip. It's walking in the footsteps of Jesus. So people, please
love that.
Push that for us. I appreciate it. I think we're up 25 has signed up already. And we're going to try to get 80. And we have amazing guides. And since I was just there, 2 of the archaeologists that I dealt with at separate digs are going to come speak to us at one of the separate nights during dinner. So they're going to get an extra bonus with these guys. And we're going to visit their archaeological digs as well.
I'm going to pull up sorbostudios.com right now so people can see it.
Kevin, Jason's wife, Lauren, has a great question for you here. She wondered if there have been any God moments in making your movies that you knew he was with you and blessing the film.
You know, when I did Miracle in East Texas, we shot up in Calgary, and people, number one, they go, "You shot Miracle in East Texas in Canada?" And I said, well, we shot at a 3,000 acre working ranch there. So if it was good enough for Clint Eastwood to shoot Unforgiven and Kevin Costner to shoot Open Range and Lonesome Dove, it's good enough for me. So
yeah, those are some big ones.
If you're looking east, yeah, it's Calgary and the mountains. But you're looking west, trust me, it's Texas. And when I screened this for 450 pastors in Dallas, Fort Worth, and they all knew that area that we shot it. And I said, no, you didn't. You don't know that area because it looks like it. But when we cast it, we did a lot of local casting. And we did it through a Zoom like this, where I would have the actors read from me and we book them. Every single one of those, we didn't screen them to see where they stood religiously or whatever. They just did a wonderful job. Every single one of them being Christians. And they said, we're so grateful you booked us in this movie. We didn't plan that. And they were so grateful to be part of something like that had because Miracle in East Texas is sort of in the vein of Blind Side. If you ever saw that movie.
Yeah, I love that movie.
It's a movie that's not, the Kendrick brothers do great stuff, but they preach to the choir. They really do. They do movies that are for Christians only. I want to do more and more movies that really have a good message for everybody. And Blind Side was one of those movies. And that's what Miracle in East Texas is, because it's a movie that deals, it's got the messages in there, but it's not in your face. It's like Blind Side. You talk to an atheist or agnostic, go, well, what a great sports movie, man.
Yeah.
Christian, they go, no, that Christian film from Texas takes in this black kid who's like, which road is he going to take at 17 years old? And it's just a wonderful, touching movie. Green Book was that way. The Viggo Mortensen movie, dealing with the life of Don Shirley. Yep. It's got a very good message.
That was a great movie, and it's one I forgot all about it.
It's the only movie in the last 5 years that deserved Best Picture, because Hollywood's gone off the rails. I don't even, nobody watched the Oscars anymore, but that one Best Picture, I said, they finally got one right. They probably even realized it had a good message.
It was really, really well done.
Really well done.
Thank you for bringing that up.
One of the producers is a Minnesota guy.
Who is?
that produced it. The guy who produced, one of the producers from Green Book, is from Minnesota. He lives in LA, but he's
American Underdog, the Kurt Warner story, was a really good, not in your face Christian movie.
Yep.
Also,
yeah,
I thought was really well done.
Zach and I had the same publicist for many, many years. So I bump into him about once a year. Don't bump into him as much as I used to, but I've known Zach, my gosh, I don't know, at least for the last 18 years already, probably. But yeah, you're showing that's a PragerU thing I did. I highly recommend people check that out, because I was going to ask you about that. They do a thing called My Stories, and I was one of the first guys to do it. And they keep playing this out there, which I'm very grateful for.
Cool.
PragerU is
my hair was getting a little shaggy there. I was doing a Western, so it was a little.
That's a little shaggy.
But
Kevin, how did you not age? I had to ask you this. In the movie What If, I think it spans like 23 years, but you didn't age at all. That was my only.
No, it doesn't. It spans, I think it spans at the most 15 years, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. Ask Billy Crystal that. He played for my college guys when Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, I don't think you've aged in 20 years, really. Actually, my 12-year-old daughter.
I still look, I'm getting a little gray, more gray, but I'm not getting, I love doing these Comic-Con shows, because the ones they let me do, people come like, you haven't aged at all. So it's good for my ego, even though Hercules finished 22 years ago.
Yeah.
That is good.
So what about?
Yeah, I work out every day. I drink a lot of water. Okay. That's the
It helps. It helps. Absolutely does.
So any of your books that you want to talk about that you think to be applicable to our audience?
Well, definitely True Strength. True Strength deals with overcoming adversities in life, much like the follow with True Faith, my wife and I. But True Strength really deals with the strokes that I had to go through. I didn't want to write the book. Sam made me write it. I didn't want to, because I didn't want to, the male ego. I didn't want to show how frail I became. It took me 4 months to learn how to walk again and balance again.
Wow.
I did go back 4 months later and did Hercules season 6. But I went from a 14-hour day to 1 hour a day. They just would get me in to prop me up to do some lines and stuff, and they did a lot of flashbacks. And then, through the months, I would add an hour here. And then by the time I think we got in the second year, I was doing about 8 hours a day. But it took a while to build it up. And I still have my limitations with it. I realize that. And I always tell people, don't let people set you limitations. But I've come a long way. I gained back most of my sight. I only have a 10% loss of vision in both eyes now. And I only get balance issues on show themselves if I get overly tired, or if I have one beer. I certainly can't drink like I used to. So I'm a cheap date.
None of us can anymore.
But I know. I don't care. I was never a big drinker to begin with. But it was a long road, and I think it shows you like I said, the roadblocks in life, how to get past it. When I didn't want to write the book, like I said, I did it. When I started doing my book signing appearances and stuff, I had people of all ages, whether they were a 20-year-old from a car crash or a 80-year-old with a heart attack or whatever. They said, your book made me stop feeling sorry for myself. Because one thing that my wife, who's a tough New York / Pittsburgh gal, said to me whenever I did get down, because I had a strong upbringing. I had a strong will because of my parents, there's no question. And I was going to fight this thing. I did 10 times more than what the neurologists, doctors were giving me for therapy. But when I got down, she said, Kevin, it happened. What are you going to do about it? And I realized that, okay, it's on me. Do something.
Awesome.
About it. And she gave me a mantra every day. She goes, I want you to wake up in the morning. I want you to look in the mirror and say, I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. And say it out loud over and over until you believe it for that day. And that was huge for me. And to have people respond to that. And that opened up speaking engagements for me. I did mostly speaking only on that. I spoke in front of, 500 to 2,000 people just for the first 3 years on my book. I was bringing a lot of medical situations. I spoke in front of 1,600 neurologists in San Diego. And I said, there's a reason what they call what you guys do a practice, okay? You still don't have all the answers. And, I think you need to give all your patients hope, because the head of neurology at Cedars-Sinai and USC Medical Center, my recovery, they said, and the fact that I didn't die or end up in a wheelchair was a miracle. I go, well, I think miracles happen all the time, and they don't have to be walking on water. I think we just don't pay attention anymore because our attention spans are shot. People are just so impatient with the world and life right now, which is really sad. That book I think is a good one. And True Faith just goes through just my wife and I just dealing sort of with an escalated image of what we got to do in our life, finding grace in God's light and life, and realizing that we're here for a reason, and you got to find out what that reason is instead of blaming and hating everybody. And the world could use a lot of that right now, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. How did you raise your family or to be grounded? I mean, you're a pretty famous guy. How, did you focus on discipling your children? What was the success? I see your wife has a homeschooling thing that she does, which, basically I'm a firm believer that everyone in America should be homeschooling at some
Yep.
point in their life right now.
Yeah.
But so how did you manage to keep them grounded and pass on your identity in Christ?
We started homeschooling my oldest by the time second grade started. So we did homeschool all of them. So every time I traveled to shoot these movies, because I shoot about 4 movies a year, they would just travel with me. And it was easy to pick them up and go. They love it. They're still doing it. My 2 kids are grad. My 18-year-old just finished up. My daughter's still got 2 years left. I think homeschooling is amazing. One of the blessings of COVID is that it opened up the eyes of parents to realize how crappy our public education is and how evil our school boards are. And so there's 2 million more kids. 2 million more kids are being homeschooled now, and thank God for that, because it's pathetic. We got to get anything, like Reagan said. The biggest words you have to fear is hiding from the government. I'm here to help, because everything they do is the opposite of help. It's all about control over your life, and people need to wake up. And thank God, more and more people are waking up to it. But we're going to keep, my kids are awesome, and I wasn't shocked. My 2 boys at one time said, "Hey, Dad, I think we want to be actors," because they grew up on sets. They don't get intimidated, don't get nervous about cameras and people all around. And my oldest son is filming a movie right now on his own. He's got the lead in it, and this is his 4th movie already. And my other boy's been in 2 movies. In fact, both my boys are on Let There Be Light. That was their first movie, and they did a great job in it. But I love when people say, well, if they're homeschooled, they don't have any social skills. My kids are so outgoing and so adult. I mean, ever since they could speak, I have flight attendants tell me, as we're going to play, your kids are so good. They're so well behaved. And restaurant people say, hey, your kids are awesome, because everything is please and thank you and, may I. And those are things that were handed down to me from my parents that I handed down to them. And they see me do it. So they do it. And people love my kids. They're awesome. And I'm very blessed. I didn't have any teenage things. I think Melissa asked me something earlier, like during high school years, any problems? I'm the 4th of 5 kids. There's 4 boys in my family. My mom always said the 4 boys combined were easier than my sister during the teenage years. you young women, you have such all these, everything's the drama, And we were all good students, good athletes. My sister she was hell on fire on wheels, but she's great now. But I mean, she definitely went through her period. But I just think that it doesn't take that much work, but parents got to learn to be parents instead of worrying about being their best friend.
Yeah. And I think, the most important thing a parent can do, it's not teaching them to be doctors. It's not teaching them to be lawyers or anything. That's all gravy. The most important thing is to pass on your identity in Christ, so that when the storms of life hit them, that they have their faith to lean on. And, they can handle burying you. They can handle cancer if it comes. They can handle all the things that come. And being able to pass that on is what we're called to do in the Bible, right? And I think it's just something that we have to make a massive priority. And the great Jordan Peterson said, as far as, spending a lot of time around your kids, whether it's homeschooling or otherwise, your next big, most important job is to raise kids that you like to be around, because they will have the most unfair advantage in life, because everyone will want to be around them. And then by that, the whole world will open up to them.
I was very lucky. I got to meet Jordan last year in Fort Worth, Texas, at a Ted Cruz event, and he and I both got to speak at it. So my wife and I got to sit down and spend a long time talking about it. I'm here at my wife's desk, and I just noticed our last trip. Here we got water from the Jordan River,
awesome.
Right here. But I gave this as a gift to all my family members, and we all got baptized in it, because I don't remember being baptized at 2 months old, whenever it was for me. So. Right. Not only that, I got to dunk my whole family in after the pastor gave it was pretty cool. It was
Praise the
neat.
Lord.
Yeah, it was neat to do that. Another good reason people should come, because, I tell the atheists out there, agnostics out there, said you can go to Israel too. You don't have to be religious to go there. There is such amazing history there, because even the biggest atheists in the world, like a Singer, Dawkins, and Hitchens, don't deny that Jesus did exist. There was a man named Jesus. So it's pretty cool to sit there and walk around in the same places that he walked. And It's just pretty cool. And by the way, I have another documentary I did with John Lennox. For those that don't know John Lennox, he's an amazing apologist. He's a retired math professor from Oxford University. We shot 3 weeks in Oxford, 2 weeks in Israel 3 years ago, and it's called Against the Tide. It's proving God in the world of science. So I hope you guys will check out Against the Tide, which is on the website as well. John Lennox is amazing. He's debated Dawkins and Hitchens and Singer. He's debated those guys. He's just an amazing guy, and he kills them with love and kindness. He doesn't raise his voice, get angry. He sounds like Winnie the Pooh. And it's just really cool listening to him talk. But he's just a great guy.
Well, your website is fantastic. I'm on here right now with sorbostudios.com in the shop, where that you have everything from the complete season, the complete series of Andromeda, the books, all your stuff here. Fantastic. And I hope that people will go there and check it out. And again, I want to remind them, I'm looking on your website for Where Our Families Strain, and I'm not able to find it yet.
I'm going to make sure we get it on there then.
Okay. Because
it
again,
should be on there.
Okay. I'm just, I'm looking for it. But Where Our Families Train, if you look for that, it's I believe a 3-day event in Orlando where
if I send you that information, will you post that up?
Sure, of course.
I'll send that information. I'm not down. I don't have my phone here in front of me. I'm in my wife's office right now. So
no problem. And we'll be happy to do that. And again, I think that's really, really important as this world continues to destabilize, as we get closer to the election, things are going to get more and more tense. And then depending on how the election goes, half the world's going to be pissed, right? That's basically
like any sporting event, right? And football game, holding. That wasn't holding. Of course it was holding. So,
Well, I mean, we were just, Melissa and I were just talking about Minnesota, how it's the carjacking capital of the U.S. right now.
Yes, let's bash Minnesota some more.
You guys have been talking reminiscent.
I start to get discouraged that I can't leave here right now, and as much as I want to. I mean, pray for me. Pray for me.
Well, that's the logic of like abolishing the police force. It's insane. When I lived in LA, when I first moved out there in my 20s, I lived in Santa Monica, right in the Venice border. Gold's Gym was like my second home, and I would rollerblade or bike down through Venice, down to Hermosa Beach. And a buddy of mine just recently sent me a video, literally 200 yards of tents with needles out there and feces on the side. I mean, it's unbelievable what they allow to happen in that state. And Newsom has we have the best governor in the country, DeSantis. The guys
I saw what he did.
I've been to Mar-a-Lago about a dozen times since I lived here now. I got to host 2 events there. I just hosted the Lincoln Day dinner where I got to introduce Trump and DeSantis and Pompeo and all these guys. And there's a commercial area in Florida with Newsom asking people from Florida to come to California where you can live in freedom. And it's like it's either liberalism is a mental disorder or they're just so delusional. Where you can live in freedom. I mean, there's a golf tournament I used to do every year up in Santa Rosa, California, and they also had these tents up on the holes where people are, try my cupcakes, try this, and every one of them said, "Oh, we're leaving. We can't afford to work in the state anymore. The business laws are so strict and taxes are so ridiculous." And you kind of look at this and go, why do they keep voting in people that make California rougher to live in? Because I'll tell you, California is a beautiful state. I loved where I lived the last 10 years. I lived in this area called Thousand Oaks, Westlake Village. It's beautiful. Yep. It's between LA and Santa Barbara, about an hour.
Well.
It's fantastic. And they destroyed that state. And we left 4 years ago before the whole COVID thing happened. And thank God we got out of there.
When you're passing laws that are trying to pass where if you leave, you still have to pay their taxes for 10 years. What is that?
You all named Newsom Salesman of the Year because we can't keep U-Haul trucks inside the States.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, I know we appreciate your time, Kevin. I've really enjoyed this. Anytime you have something you want, when you're doing a project, you want to do a hype for it, you want to talk about it, we would love to have you back as much as you want to come on.
Let's try to book something in December because I know I'll have at least one of the movies coming out for sure.
That would be awesome.
Being able to hype just because of my background, it ties into what you were doing over there. It'd be something easy for us to talk about. So
Perfect.
for the self-defense 3-day event. So anyways, brother, thank you so much. Melissa, do you want to pray us out and take
Yeah.
us home?
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's been awesome spending time with you. I'd love to pray before we close out.
Please do. Thank you.
All right. Father God, we just come before you in Jesus' name. Lord, we thank you for Kevin Sorbo. We thank you for the gift of his life, Lord, and this amazing man of God that you have raised up through the culture of lawlessness in Hollywood. Jesus, we thank you for this call you've placed on his life to shine light into this dark world. I pray you continue to give him boldness. Let him not be discouraged by any of the weapons of this world that may come against him, the cancel culture, people's opinions, people's nasty Twitter comments. Lord, I pray you would just raise him up a mighty warrior to fight back against that. You would give him every tool he needs to do your will. Lord, I pray for favor over him with his business dealings, with his movie deals, everybody he meets with, Lord, I pray for favor. I pray for protection for Kevin, his wife and family, that you would just have a hedge of protection around them as they go forward, and that you continue to bless them, give them provision in whatever areas of life that they need your hand. I pray it would be upon them. And Lord, I just ask you to open up the path before him. We pray for his new movie releases, that they would be successful, Lord, that they would pierce the darkness of this world. I pray you would give people a new desire for quality content, for uplifting content that can inspire hope, that can give people a sense of joy and peace. I pray against the wickedness that just permeates our society, the hunger that so many have for lust and deceit and greed that we see in Hollywood. I pray that evil intentions would be exposed and that you would let the light shine through. Give people a hunger for you, Lord, and help Kevin continue to be your instrument to bring hope into this dark world. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
You know, like my buddies keep telling me I'm trying to raise money for movies. They keep going, "What's in God's time?" I go, I get a little impatient with God sometimes too.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Oh, we all. Well, brother, thank you so much.
All
It was
right.
great to
Thanks,
see you in the kindred
Kevin.
spirit.
Thanks.
All right, everyone, that does it
Take
for
care.
us today. We'll see you back here on Friday. God bless.
God bless.
Bye.